Hello everyone, my name is Nasmus and welcome to our first Matlab video tutorial. In this tutorial we'll discuss the basics of Matlab, including the user interface and some simple math calculations and variables. So let's get started. When you first open Matlab, you'll be presented with a screen that looks similar to mine. This is generally referred to as the Matlab desktop, and you may be familiar with this kind of user interface as you see these on most professional productivity suites. There's the menu bar that has a file edit menu. It also has the standard toolbar that has some basic commands, and you'll also notice some individual windows that serve different functionalities. But for now, we'll only need to be worried about the command window, as you see right here. The command window is the place where we'll do most of our work. For now, we don't need to worry about other things. But I do promise that as we progress through the tutorials, I will talk about what these other windows do. But let's just stick to this command window for now, and let's get started. Matlab is definitely, as you may already know, that Matlab is an engineering application. It also does complex mathematics, but it could also do some simple math equations here. So let's get started. Let's do some basic ones like 2 plus 2, and press enter, and you'll get answer is equal to 4. Let's also do 6 times 8. Oh, 8. Oops, I pressed a slash by mistake. That's a typo. As you see, it gave me an error statement. And then Matlab does that. If you make a syntax error, it'll pop a red error message. So let's do that again. 6 times 8 gives you 48. 5 divided by 4 gives you 1.25. Also, let's try subtraction. 6 minus 20, you get a negative 14. You could also do powers, like 5 to the power of 8. 5 to the power of 8, and you get a big answer. You could also do you could combine all these operations. Let's try 4 plus 2 times 8 to the power of 3 divided by 2 minus 5. And let's kick in another operation. Parentheses 5 plus 2. Enter, and you get the answer of negative 4. I'd like to note, it's an important fact, is that Matlab does follow the order of operation rules. You might have, as the PDEs rule, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, and addition, subtraction. So basically, for this tutorial, I'm assuming that you already know how to use the order of operation rules. If you don't, you could always refer to it on a math reference book. It's pretty simple, but Matlab does follow this rule. If you're unsure, of course, you could also put a parentheses to make it the higher priority. So if I do, for example, 2 plus 3 times 8, it'll do the 3 times 8 first, which is 24, and then add 2, which is 26. As you see, that's correct. But if I wanted to do the plus signs, the 2 plus 3 first, I would definitely use the bracket, as you would probably expect. 2 plus 3, and then that'll be 6. 6 times 8, 48. So 6 times 8, and this and you guess. Sorry, that's 2 plus 3 is 5. 5 times is 40. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, but as you'd see, yeah, it does. So you have to use parentheses if you want to control the priority. So, and so these are some basic calculations that you would expect with a simple calculator to do that. So as you can see, you could use Matlab as a basic calculator. But it does, of course, more than that, as you'll see in the near future. So, okay, let's continue on. We could also work with variables on Matlab. Let's work on variables. You could define a variable by creating a variable, and you could create a variable by typing its name, and you could type whatever you want to type, as long as it starts with letter and it's followed by other letters, numbers, or an underscore. You can't have spaces or weird symbols in your variable. So let's do an example. Let's try x, one letter variable. And once to create a variable, we type the name of the variable, and then we put an equal sign, and we put whatever value we want to store in the variable. So let's put 4. Now we know x is equal to 4. Now I could use this variable in any other operation. So let's say 2 plus x and is equal to 6. We could create other variable. Let's call this y. Y is equal to 6 times x, and that's 24. Now I could use x plus y, and that's 28. And as you would expect, um, you might want to. It's important to know that variables don't have to be just one letter, one character thing. So I could just type awesome. Awesome is as a variable, and we'll create that awesome is 42, because as you all know, that's the answer to life, universe, and everything. So awesome is 42. So if I do awesome times x minus y, and of course this is no longer awesome anymore, but as you would expect, these do store a variable. Now these variables are we have creating scalar variables, and the reason they're called scalar because they're only storing one values. As you'll see very soon that variables can store multiple values, but for now let's just worry about storing one value per variable. Well, okay, let's do a quick example. You know that area of a circle is pi times the circle's radius squared. So let's do a quick example with area of circle. Let's say we create a variable called radius. Let's call it r, and say the radius of the circle is 3. And so what would the area be? Let's create a new variable called area. And remember, variables are case sensitive, so area is not equal to area, so they're different. If you want to make sure wherever you have the capital letters, they're consistent, otherwise they'll be counted as different variables. So let's say area is equal to 2 times, and pi, if you type pi, Matlab knows that's 3.14. It's a constant, it's a defined constant, so you could easily use pi, and it gives a really accurate value of pi. 2 times pi, no sorry, area of circle is pi r squared, pi times r, which you define r squared, and let's press enter, and that's the area. And we could use area later. Say for example we have 50 circles, how much area would it cover? So let's say 50 times area, area, that's how much it would cover. That's a lot of space because you're actually using exponents. Now let's do some quick little tips for Matlab. You could type CLC, and this will clear your window. If you press enter, this will clear everything you typed in command window. So you have this the scroll bar that you see here. If you scroll up, you can see your previous commands. But if you want to clear it, because you don't have a blank clear view, just press CLC and press enter. Everything's cleared. However, you are not losing anything you typed. Matlab does a great job of retaining everything you typed in a window called command history. It is right here, and by default it should be on the right, bottom right of your Matlab window. It should say command history, and you should see the history of your previous commands that you have typed from all the way in the beginning. In fact, even if after you close Matlab, it'll retain it the next time you open it, and it actually is marked by a date. So it marks today's date. So when I come back tomorrow, these commands that I type today will be grouped to today's date, and the commands that I type tomorrow will be grouped to tomorrow's date. Okay, you can clear history. If you want to delete all your history or certain history, you could right click on a history and delete that selection, or you could delete the entire command history. I'm not going to delete the command history because I want to retain what I typed, so I'll just keep it here. But yes. Now, next we want to talk about, we created a lot of variables. I remember creating y, I remember creating awesome, but how do you know what if we create lots of variables? How do you remember what variables we have? Well, we could use a function called exist. So you could type exist and parentheses and put a colon and type the name of the variable. For example, does awesome exist? AWSOME, and close it with another colon, close the parentheses, and if it exists, it will return 1, If it does not exist, it'll return 0. And as you know, awesome does exist, and it resulted in 1. Let's try another one. Exist, 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 colon, let's say, not awesome. And it does not exist. We did not create a variable called not awesome. If we type exist x, it'll say 1. If we type exist z, it'll say 0, because it depends on if we have the variable or not. But that's a very inefficient way of finding out if some variable exists or not. Because if you have lots of variables, you might forget the names of the variables, and it's doing it one at a time is very pain in the butt. So another way of doing it is typing who, like who, WHO, and this will list very clearly your variables are area, awesome, y, ants, r, area, x. We actually created a small area by mistake too, so these are two different areas. But anyways, you might want to notice answer is also a variable. So whenever you type out operation like 3 plus 4, answer is equal to 7. Your answer is stored in the answer variable. So just a heads up, so that you know. And anytime you assign a new value to the variable, for example, x equals, for now x equals 4. If you press x and enter, it'll say x equals 4. But if you assign a new value like x equals 5, it'll replace the old value, now x equals 5. Anyways, but there's another way of finding the variables, and it's called using the workspace window. And so in the top right corner of your Matlab screen, it says workspace. It shows you all the variables. It also shows their values too, and it shows their minimum value. You don't need to worry about these, but it shows their values and the names. You could also right click on the variable. You could rename the variable. So if you, for example, didn't like the name of the variable, you could rename it. You could edit the value. You could copy it, duplicate it. You could save the variable. You can also create a new variable by putting your mouse on a new variable and typing a name of the variable. New. Let's call it new. Okay. And let's edit the value of new. Let's call it edit value. It's of 20. And now if we go back to our command window and ask what the value of new is, it's 20. But remember, as I told you, capital letters counts. If I just type normal new, it says undefined function. There's no variable called new with a small n, so you want to be careful on that. Okay, so for the first tutorial, I've covered the basics of Matlab, the user interface, the command window, doing some basic mathematical calculations. We also talked about variables. We talked about the history window, and we talked about the workspace window. I already told you for now you have to consider on the command window, but in the first tutorial we've also covered 2 other windows. So yeah, that's a really good achievement for tutorial number 1. So we'll do more in-depth Matlab tutorials, so stick with us as we go through our journey of exciting learning time. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.